Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello everybody, welcome to one more week of the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, and this week joining us from near Auckland in New Zealand is Kyla MacDonald. Hi Kyla, welcome to the show.
Hi, great to be here.
So how far exactly are you from Auckland?
About 35k from the center, so it's still Auckland, but on the outskirts.
All right, very good, very good. So Kyla imagines a world where the talk at Friday Drinks is all about the great things we've achieved during the week, what we learned, and what we can try next. As she puts it, people who find satisfaction, meaning, fun, and growth in their work will naturally be in a better position to find the same in their home lives. The thing that excites Kyla the most about Agile is how concepts and principles apply to any and every area of your life, which for her is running, paragliding, and life on her hobby farm, as they call it, a lifestyle block in New Zealand. So, Kyla, that was a short intro. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and how did you end up becoming a Scrum Master?
Yeah, my partner has worked in Agile teams for many years, long before me, and so he started coming home with all of these concepts and introducing them to kind of life around our property and things that we were doing at home. So I was quite curious about this for a long time. And I had a long background as a project manager, so very delivery focused, and I started playing with kind of introducing some concepts into my projects in the early days. So daily stand-ups, some of the practices that we see in the Agile world, more prioritization and visualization of work, and just having a little bit of fun with these sorts of things. And I ended up at a company that was introducing an Agile transformation, and I think, like a lot of people, I ended up in the Scrum Master role kind of accidentally, but with a little bit of on purpose in there as well. Just because of the curiosity and where I was putting myself. So turned into a Scrum Master from project management.
Yeah, absolutely. So project management is also my background. I very often call myself a recovering project
Yes.
manager because it's kind of hard to lose all of that knowledge and experience from those years as a project manager. And I don't know if your next story has anything to do with that specific background, but of course, because this is Monday, the Fail Monday as we call it, we're going to talk about a story where you, Kyla, as a Scrum Master, you did your best, you tried all you could, but things just didn't turn out as you expected. We want to dive into that story, that fail story, as we call it, so that we, of course, learn and take some lessons for our own career and for our own actions. But first, Kyla, tell us that story.
Yeah, I in the early days, I worked with this really amazing team, and I still look back on them as one of my favorite teams to work with. They're real superstars, and they kind of had all of the characteristics that we would want. They were really curious, great teamwork. They had a strong focus on quality. They were a delight to work with. It was wonderful, but I kind of forgot afterwards how hard we worked to get to that point, and the pain to get there. There was a journey, and it was really nice that everybody worked together to get there. But yeah, I'd forgotten that, and people and concepts are all different, and so I kind of assumed that every team afterwards would be the same. So I later on worked with another team, and I approached it with the same expectations, I guess, as this first team. And their work context was totally different. They were completely different people, and they thought this whole Agile thing was a waste of time, and didn't want anything to do with it. And instead of kind of adapting to that, I tried to change them. I tried to fix them, if you like, and and it was pretty disastrous. It was I really focused on, these are the processes that we need to follow. This is what you need to be doing, and they, they put up blocks, and it was almost like, if we're in a meeting room, everybody sits back with their arms crossed and heads down and pulls out their phones and totally not interested. So that was difficult. I kept thinking about how do I change them. I'm going to try something different to change them, rather than looking at my own approach. So I was thinking about what I would do now, and I think I would instead of kind of starting with these are the things we have to do. This is Scrum. This is how you have to work. Really look at more what are the practices that we want to bring in, and what are the benefits of them, and maybe figure out how we make them work for the team. One of the big things that I kind of, I guess, was not ignoring but sort of brushing over was the nature of their work. It didn't lend itself to being able to deliver themselves. They had a lot of dependencies and team members who weren't necessarily full-time. So the work that they were doing, they couldn't say, we will achieve this goal in 2 weeks, for example. So that was painful for me to go through, and for them as well.
Absolutely. So of course, the first thing that comes to my mind is when we join a new team, and sometimes I jokingly say that every day there's a new team waiting for you, because of course, people's but attitudes change because of something that happened at work, or on the way at home, or on the way to work. Whatever there might be, the dynamics change all the time. And one of the things that you said kind of popped this idea in my mind, that when we work with the team, we first need to understand what the problems are from the team's perspective, not that the problem is adopting Agile, right? So you started from that perspective, and we know that Scrum solves a lot of problems, but the way to get to Scrum is not, it's not unique. It's not a single way to get there. It will depend on, as you said, the nature of the work, where the team is. Do they have a lot of dependencies? Do they have all the skills they need within the team, or do they need to work with other teams before they can deliver? Like all of those things, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I at the time I just for some reason couldn't see that. So I started, more recently. I do my own quarterly planning and weekly planning, and I do that kind of across work and personal life. And when you practice these things yourself personally, you kind of go, oh wow, I can't believe how I was trying to approach this. I see and experience myself some of the same sort of challenges.
Absolutely. Even as you said, even ourselves, we are very often depending on other people doing something for us to achieve a goal, and we can't always plan other people's work.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
So one of the things that comes to my mind as a tip for our Scrum Master friends out there, perhaps potentially facing a very similar situation, is to start from a problem that the team already acknowledges that they have, right? So, have a quick retro or a coffee retro these days on a video call probably, and try to figure out what the problem is and work with the team on that problem rather than on the Scrum adoption, right? Because we know that Scrum solves a lot of problems, but those problems that Scrum solve may not be the ones that the team needs to get solved right now.
Yeah. And I think even if a Scrum Master thinks they know what the biggest problem is, if the team doesn't see that as the biggest problem, then forget it. You got to focus on what they're experiencing, and how they see the world.
Yeah, absolutely. The team needs to say what is the problem that they are experiencing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Great story. Thank you for sharing, Kyla.
Thank you.
Monday is about what we learn from our obstacles and our failures. But tomorrow is Team Tuesday here on the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast. We explore teams and their journeys, the habits they develop that threaten their performance, how each of our guests helped their teams evolve, and the one key lesson they learned from that experience. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.